Welcome to the... So, what is the way to increase the frequency for the whole entire world? Just using one email address. Just one email address to be able to try to translate that into a mobile application to be able to try to enhance the frequency of the whole entire world. Oh, stay till the end to get the answer. Yeah! So in essence, as you know, Dink Tech Change for Game Studios is the name of our company and our brand. So in essence, what in this episode we're trying to focus on is how to continue to make business sports. Oh yeah! So in essence, we've been as we've been moving towards the direction of going to Hong Kong soon, we're trying to get to Hong Kong and also that general region of the world in East Asia. So that in essence, once we get there, we have the ability to try to leverage something called meetup.com. And in essence, we're trying to be able to try to almost make our own little group in Hong Kong to, for example, like something that in essence is like sports fantasy games, but this is something more sort of to be able to try to get together where people are able to get together and talk about their fantasy sports businesses that they're able to make in essence, because Dink Tech Change for Game Studios is about trying to gamify and make kids again out of the game of sports so everybody can play the game of sports together more so in a more fluid fashion. Yeah, so in essence, if we made our little meetup group in Hong Kong, for example, we'd be able to have everybody get together and be able to make their little dream draft mentality of the dream draft business sports that they want to develop in their fantasy business games, more or less, for example, and be able to recruit and draft it for people that they would like to recruit into their draft mentality for their dream business, for example, to be able to start to inspire and spark different innovations and inspirations for different aspects of different business music, indeed, yeah. So, how we want to try to get people to come together is, in essence, by being able to develop a fantasy process by having one primary partner in this equation. So in essence, every single time that they come together, and every time everybody comes together, that there's at least one partner. So we need like an even number of community in this people of community. Yeah, so in essence, we are trying to focus on a way to be able to try to develop a physical group and a physical manifestation of a physical flow of physical folks in a physical format in Hong Kong, for example. So exactly how to be able to develop our sports business music fantasy league, in essence, is something that we are trying to kind of put together to be able to bring together different people in a collaborative partner sense so that people have the ability to take actual actions and then therefore have the ability to raise the nature of the value of their frequencies. Oh yeah, the nature of the value of their frequencies from nothing to something, and also something that is started from nothing, but it's something because something is something, and something also has a correlation to a corresponding human energy and a human frequency and a human vibration, and those vibrations equal up to and add up to a different aspect that corresponds to a different actual real world value, a different aspect of a different corresponding real world value. And the purpose of this whole exercise is to be able to bring up that frequency, bring up that vibration, bring up that valuation of that frequency dynamic that corresponds to these two people. So in essence, we have these dream life existence concepts where in essence philanthropy, business, music, development of different business games, in essence, are able to be conceptualized and drafted in this little meetup group that we're trying to put together in Hong Kong, in essence, to be able to start a developing foundation for developing on the ground little connections with different people in a physical format. Oh yeah. And at the same time, we're trying to develop a calling to invest type of a strategy to make it a minimal barrier to entry to have people to be able to call to invest with, in essence, and be able to call upon them in a low barrier to entry fashion to be able to have a higher impact, low barrier to entry, and high impact ability to be able to try to invest with people, call upon people to invest with them, and into a different type of collaborative sense. So, in essence, today's episode, we also considered the essence of being able to leverage Fiverr, the essence of the website Fiverr, to be able to call upon people and different people to be able to have them sell things on e-commerce, for example, for us, for me, for Dink Tech Change for Game Studios, to be able to start to get the ball rolling in the e-commerce space, to be able to start to develop the ability to be able to start to call upon investments, because every little call, every little indication, every little action that's taken on Fiverr, for example, is corresponding to a different business that's being started, hopefully with a minimum start and barrier to entry in essence, by selling something that has hopefully a high margin value return, in essence a high ticket item, conceptual return potential, and increased conceptual return on investment, in essence, so that in essence it's a low barrier to entry to put up these, in essence, listings on the internet, for sale listings, for example. And this is what we are investing in with this person and with these people on Fiverr, for example. So this is a way that we're able to call in our investments through leveraging our interest to be able to call on investments by being able to call on people with lower barrier to entry and develop a investing calling system like TD Ameritrade used to have, but now they don't exist any longer. So you can't call somebody to be able to trade equities necessarily. At least I don't know of another service that's like that right this moment, but there might be one, a different brokerage out there that you can call. I'm sure there are actually plenty of them, to be quite honest, but right this minute, not one comes to mind. And so also a different fashion and a different format of that is if there was success down the line in terms of performing music, because we're trying to also like become a DJ as Dink Tech Change for Games. Dink Tech is like in essence a DJ mascot. He's a DJ black lab dog with bat wings in essence as his character more or less, but like nonetheless he's an attempt at a DJ, and in essence as he's continuing down the path to be able to try to make more music, another way to be able to try to call upon investing is in essence we're trying to call on different musicians, and we're trying to call on different artists, and we're trying to call on different people to be able to come up on stage. If there's an ability to be able to call upon different stages and different elements to be able to come together to develop different performance stages, in essence, like I've talked about doing busking in Hong Kong, for example, already, and also within the meetup group, we might be able to do that within different open mic corresponding concepts of different spaces to be able to meet up at, for example. And in essence, we are trying to also be able to develop and create different spaces on the street and outside, and in different spaces where people from the outside and the outdoors are able to be influenced, and we're able to make videos. So at the same time, there is also an online presence that we're able to leverage nonetheless from being able to correspond from doing this. But nonetheless, this outside performing art is also something that is an investment, which in essence we want to try to continue to be able to try to always have random people, random encounters, random characters to be able to come up on stage and be able to participate, and always be able to reinvest into different characters, and not ever try to have, if there's a fee corresponding to any music playing possibility in the future, that in essence doing DJ stuff is always corresponding to either a co-DJ and or other people on stage that are sharing the stage in essence and developing some format of art and art development, for whether that's corresponding to ultimately stage that is also stage speaking, and that corresponds to different certain specialties, for example, to be able to bring certain specialties from different arenas, and also people that might want to volunteer if the audience ever gets big enough to just bring awareness to people's own brands, for example, which is something similar to what I was talking about yesterday. In essence, we're able to reformat and try to restructure, being able to call upon a different sort of energy, where in essence we're trying to raise the vibration, raise the frequency in the animal realm, in the animal industry, in the animal world, in the animal shelter world, where we're able to try to bring an outdoor marketing and outdoor sales element to the essence of the animal shelter world, in essence, because for the most part people have to come to the animal shelters and they look online to be able to try to shop for dogs and cats that are for sale and or for adoption, more or less in the animal realm, in the shelter realm, in this animal shopping adoption process in essence now. But a lot of animals go to die, and unfortunately in this process, and it's a little bit unfortunate, it's a lot unfortunate, so we want to try to change the nature of the game if possible, to be able to have the shelters be able to let people to take the animals outside, to be able to take them to different places and spaces and events that are sanctioned, for example, to be able to try to bring more outdoor awareness, but also filming and social media, because the high vibrations and the high frequencies of these animals are much higher, so they bring up the society value, they bring up societal value when animals, and especially an event, and especially when they're congregated in a congregation aspect, are able to be directly able to contribute their energy into the pipeline of surrounding humanity, to be able to bring up the awareness and bring up the vibrational frequency energy that corresponds to societal energy, by directly getting that energy from the dogs and cats, specifically to be able to point and direct within society in certain aspects where it is needed and necessary for society's vibrations to be able to increase, because in essence there is a lot of shortcomings in the way that society is functioning at the current present time, because in essence there's a lot of shortcomings in the ways that essences of energy is provided for all people and distributed across every single country and every single world, every single country and every single element and of every single city across the whole world, where improvements can be fundamentally made from the ground up by raising the nature of the vibration and the frequency in essence. And to get to the kicker, the thing that I was starting the podcast with, in essence, the question, how can you make an application to be able to raise the world frequency with just one email in essence? And the answer to that is our mobile application development of a mobile application called the not doing nothing application, accountability email application in essence, where in essence it's a quadruple negative, so it actually equals a positive. It's not doing nothing application in essence, where just one email is necessary for one friend, one comrade, one relative, for example, which is just the nature of the sort of starting aspect and element to be able to get that accountability in place, to be able to not do nothing in terms of raising the nature of the element of the frequency of yourself, and also the globe around you, the world around you, the country around you, the city around you, the local area city around you that's even a smaller radius necessarily than the city, that is around you, and including yourself. All of these things take different abilities to be able to carry out different actions, to be able to raise the frequencies within a local or a micro or a macro type of a way, but being able to put in actions in essence and be able to be accountable every single day by being able to send one email every single day to that email address that's a corresponding accountability email in essence, is something to be able to just start this corresponding process similar to this podcast in essence, that's day to day, just trying to be able to continue to try to raise the frequency for the whole entire world, which is also called the Global Philanthropy Energy Grid. It's something I've constantly referred to as the Global Philanthropy Energy Grid, because it's all about developing greater nature for all of humanity to be able to try to continue to benefit from that energy continuing to be produced. And nonetheless, if everybody has this one email address, this one email to be able to send one email a day to every single person in the world, every single person or a majority of people, nonetheless, there's also something called view in browser on typically on emails, on different emails in essence, where you are able to click an email and actually view that email on the internet, for example. So that aspect and that ability to be able to correspond that and transition that aspect of the email to be able to view it in the browser also leverages it to a certain extent to where we are also able to start to be able to hopefully flesh out, based on our accountability sort of references, to be able to focus on or start to develop, in other words, a newsletter for ourselves. And we can start to develop now a newsletter for ourselves to where Think Tech Change for Games can start to day-to-day start to try to crank out a daily newsletter if possible to correspond to this podcast if possible, to be able to also have that accountability to be able to not be taking action to do nothing, which means doing something every single day, and the things that are specifically correspond to being able to try to raise the frequencies of the frequency value of Think Tech Change for Games. Think Tech Change for Games every single day, the frequency value, attempt to increase that frequency value for the rest of the world, for our close proximity, for our regional proximity, and for ourselves as a company, as a brand that corresponds to all those external activities like ripples in the water in essence, how that in essence has been tried to be influenced in that day to be able to try to raise the value of that frequency, of our frequency, of Think Tech Change for Game Studios frequency, for example, is something that we're starting to try to increase, and by put into this letter in essence, and by making it into like a mobile application, for example, by leveraging that ability to be able to use one email address to be able to have that accountability as an accountability coach ultimately corresponds to the ability to be able to follow through with that every single day and take that action every single day and continue to raise the vibrations of the world into the Global Philanthropy Energy Grid. The Global Philanthropy Energy Grid, cumulatively from a mobile application such as this, leveraging the part of an email that says view in browser, because once someone clicks that view in browser button, then it becomes something that's on the internet, and that therefore can connect to something that can directly develop a connection to the community, to the global community that corresponds to this conceptual global mobile application, I meant to say, that corresponds to the ability to be able to continue to build a community from just starting with one email, to be able to start with one email, to have that as your like so-called accountability coach, necessarily to be able to just stay accountable, to be able to report in every single day and send through some accountability for not doing nothing in essence for that day, to be able to raise the frequency of every single person in the world, to be able to raise the frequency, which means the frequency value, the value of that frequency. What are they doing? What is the action that's been taken that day to be able to raise the frequency value of that specific day-to-day person source, which is the source of that frequency in essence, to raise the vibrations, to raise the valuation of that frequency, for example, which is like a dollar analogy. It's like a dollar monetary energy sign symbol to be able to correspond to the frequencies, what is possible to be done in the eyes of the market, in the eyes of the globe, in the eyes of the world, to be able to raise the market value of that frequency every single day for every single human, which is a frequency, every single entity, organization, which is a frequency, to be able to have that, to be able to connect with that mobile application and that mobile community. So that is how to be able to do all of that jazz and be able to raise the global frequency of the globe frequency cumulatively into the Global Philanthropy Energy Grid with just one email, for example. So anyways, that's I guess where we'll wrap it up for now. Thanks again. Think Tech. Bye. Peace. Bye. Think Tech Change for Game Studios. Think Tech Change for Games. Bye. Peace. Bye.